It's time for the Swain Event with your host, Jason Swain.
My man.
Real sports talk for the real sports fan.
All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him.
It's time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Get into his mouth and a red flag.
SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America, 865-200-5503. The great Ben McKee. It's Valentine's Day. More importantly, it is opening day in college baseball for Tennessee. Ben McKee, good morning, man.
Good morning. Will you be my Valentine?
Yeah, man.
All right, we could be show Valentines, although I guess you would have to pick between me and Josh.
Nah,
And you already did that once. I won't make you do that a second time. But I'm fired up, man. You know how much I love the sport of baseball, and it's been real cool to see how much Tennessee baseball has grown over the last several years, as we have detailed so often. So I'm really pumped up to have college baseball back. Really pumped up for what should be another great Tennessee baseball season. And
Yes.
I was telling somebody yesterday, it's just cool to think of how far the program has come in the sense of how many people are looking forward to opening day. It's been really, really cool. But I'm doing great this morning for a couple of reasons. A, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all of our Swain Event listeners. You all are my true Valentine, not Swain, the listener, you the people. Big Shot Rob, Neelan Mafia, Vol Fan, Jennifer Morris, DZ, Rusty, C-Mac. I could go on and on and on. I don't want to leave somebody out. I would say Nelson from Jackson, but he doesn't appreciate college baseball enough to be my Valentine, which I'm sure he's okay with. Brian Hunsucker. I could go on and on. I apologize if I did not mention your name. Turkey Man, Tina. Like, I could go on and on. So please don't be upset with me if I did not mention your name. But you all are my true Valentine. So I just want to say that. Obviously, I'm fired up for college baseball today, Tennessee baseball, but also my family sparked the Summit last night, and it was just real good for the soul to be inside of Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center and sparking the Summit behind the Tennessee bench. My mom likes to come up every year for the breast cancer awareness game because my mom fought breast cancer once upon a time. So I don't know exactly what the promotion is, but something along the lines of somehow she got free tickets, and then we got a couple of extra tickets to get my kiddos and wife in the game as well. And it was fun, not only watching the Lady Vols in person for the first time this year, but my little ones were constantly on the video board, on the Jumbotron. They kept showing Jalen, my youngest, who will be one next month. I mean, every break they start in the second half, they were showing Jalen, which was cool and got a fun reaction from the crowd because he was into it last night, and his personality was starting to come out. So that was a lot of fun and gave me a lot of energy going into the weekend.
Yeah, man. Shout out to big brother to be Jalen here in November, man. That was a great story, Ben McKee.
Is November 9 months from now?
Correct. That was a great story, Ben McKee. Great story about.
I can assure you that Jalen will not be a big brother in November.
Hey, man. Hey.
I'm looking forward to you potentially having a boy though in November.
I'm good.
Or maybe even a fourth girl.
No, I'm good, man.
You're trying to fill out Kim Caldwell's roster for her.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I got my plate full, man. I got my plate full, man. I got a driving 16-year-old. I have
that stresses me out, and I'm not even the dad.
I know, man. I got a 10 and 9-year-old that it's time to get them dribbling the basketball and getting them ready to go. I don't have any time for any other kids. No, it wouldn't be fair because they wouldn't get any time at all. So I'm messing with you, man. I'm glad that you were able to go to the Lady Vol games. That's one thing that we always love to do as a family. I've been to several games this year, and my kids have found their way on the Jumbotron, and it's always really, really, really cool. Late ball games are awesome, and yesterday on Josh and Swain during the Sports Animal, um, we talked about the Lady Vols, and I was like, listen, man, this is a good chance to go ahead and get 100 points. It's been a while since we've gotten 100 points. Losing to LSU, recently breaking the season mark for three-pointers in the season. It's about time. It's been a while since we put up 100 points. And somebody didn't make a free throw. Or it could have been 100 points. But it was 99 points, and Tennessee, Lady Vols got the big win over Auburn. Every win is a big win. Auburn's not that good, but it doesn't matter. Tennessee gets a win. And now it's the boys' turn. Now it's the boys' turn. Tomorrow versus Vanderbilt, and then the baseball Vols today, opening day. Here's the thing about baseball and softball. Like, everybody's excited about the first game, and these are sports that are played outside. And in football, like the first game, it's usually, it's about 85, 95 degrees in that range. It may be a little uncomfortable, but you can kind of deal with it.
Closer to 95 than 85.
Yeah, you can deal with it. It wasn't that bad this past year. It wasn't bad at all. But that Virginia game last year in Nashville, whoo boy, it was warm. But baseball and softball, you get all hyped up for the start of the season. Do you know how cold it was this morning? It's 27 degrees right now, Ben.
Oh, why are you bringing stuff up that I already know and have to deal with today? The news, as I had it on this morning, said it feels like 17 degrees outside, and that is just no bueno.
It's 27 degrees, man. The high is going to be, which won't be that bad, but like you sitting in the dugout. I hope they got a heater in there, but the high's going to be 49 today.
The dugout? What about me in the press box?
So the dugout, as I was saying, hopefully they got a heater in there for the players, most important people.
I agree. They are the most important people. At least the sun's going to be out. Maybe that makes it feel a little bit better. I'm certainly prepared to bundle up in my new press box that does not have windows, is not enclosed, which will be awesome once it does heat up. For Hofstra, who has not practiced outside once this season, today's going to feel like they're at the beach. 40s and sunshine. That's the best weather they've seen in months. So for Hofstra, it's a bit of a vacation for them this weekend. Do you want to hear something my sources are telling me?
Well, I already heard something that you just said that man, it's mind blowing, but not really when you think about how you've been covering baseball. You referred to the press box as your press box. You said my press box. So wow, I didn't know it was a Ben McKee press box. Goodness gracious, that explains how you were able to get your whole family into the Lady Vol game yesterday. That explains it, Ben.
I agree. Right behind the Lady Vols bench and everything.
Golly.
No, I did not say that purposely. Don't
be doing that.
I'm just going by what you said.
Everybody feels a certain type of way about baseball coverage these days. Can't do anything in peace and quiet. Gotta cast stones on others. That's a separate conversation. But again, do you want to hear what my sources are telling me?
What's that?
As punishment for a poor season so far, Darlingstone Dubar is going to have to play in left field all 27 innings for Hofstra, his former school, this weekend. I'm also hearing that for the third game, the final 9 innings of the weekend, they might put him behind the plate and force him to catch as well. But in some capacity, Darlingstone Dubar is going to have to play all 27 innings while Tennessee hits around in the field for Hofstra.
Hey, man. I thought my guy Darlingstone Dubar was going to do something more this year.
It's not working right now. What you hope, if you want to take the glass half full approach, and not that I would put my money into this stock or invest in this or have a ton of confidence in this happening, but if you wanted to look at it from a glass half full
Perspective.
you would mention that he had the personal matter, missed 2 weeks, 3 weeks because of it. Then he missed a week and a half because of the concussion protocol. I mean, he was not in rhythm to start the season, and he has been behind the 8 ball ever since. So, I know Chaz had a poor shooting night on Tuesday, but Chaz and Igor and Felix overall, I feel like, especially Felix and Igor, have started to figure it out the last 2 weeks. D-Stone is behind on that timeline. The hope could be, if you want to look at it from a positive perspective, is that, okay, since he did start the season a little slow, maybe by the end of the month, he is where he needs to be to help this team in March.
Appreciate the effort, though, Ben.
I'm Mr. Positivity. What can I say?
What are you the most excited about opening day with this baseball team? Like, there's a lot of storylines. The biggest one is obviously Sooner trying to get eligible. But what are you the most excited about today with this baseball team?
What I'm most excited about, not what I'm most curious to learn about, is I'm excited to watch all these newcomers. I'm excited to watch Liam Doyle pitch today. He is a firecracker on the mound. He is Drew Gilbert emotionally on the mound. He talks his stuff. So just be prepared. Now, I do think he has matured over this offseason in the midst of ingratiating himself within the Tennessee baseball program. I think he has really matured. He's in better shape. Those are things that plagued him at Ole Miss. He's always had the filthy stuff. He's always had the highest ceiling, the utmost potential, but it was maybe not being in the best of shape. It was maybe being too flamboyant on the mound that led to him being inconsistent. He would come to Knoxville and absolutely shove and just was phenomenal in Knoxville. And Tony said publicly he pissed everybody off in the dugout. And they were saying terrible things about him because of his stuff. And on top of the stuff, he was carving Tennessee up, which we know what Tennessee's offense was a season ago. As he was carving them up, he was letting them know about it. And then he would follow it up with a poor performance in which he was just throwing it right down the middle of the plate. So I think he's really, really developed. Like when I tweeted out after Tony said earlier this week that Liam and Marcus Phillips will be starting in the rotation to start the season, Ole Miss fans were all up in my mentions, like cracking on Liam and the fact that that's going to be Tennessee's number one guy and showing highlights from home runs he gave up in Hoover and this, that, and the other, failing to recognize that he will actually be coached in Knoxville, unlike the situation that they have in Oxford at the moment, which is why he and Andrew Fisher left. But I think he's really matured, and I'm really excited to watch him pitch this season. He will get the ball today at 4:30. So I'm just excited to see him pitch against other people other than Tennessee, and he's got a lot of swagger to him, and I think that'll be fun for Tennessee fans, and then all of the freshmen as well. I kind of skip over Gavin Keelan and Andrew Fisher and the bats that they picked up out of the transfer portal, and I'm excited to watch Andrew Fisher and Gavin Keelan. Don't get me wrong, but this freshman class, Swain, I'm telling you, it's different. It's different. There's a reason Tennessee had the number one ranked recruiting class in the country, and it's because of Jay Abernathy, who I think starts in left field today, Levi Clark, who's going to get several at-bats early in the year, Manny Marine, who I would not be surprised if he's in the lineup at third base, and Andrew Fisher is over at first base, Chris Newstrom, who has a ton of energy as well, really athletic, can play all over the field, has a swagger to him, the utmost competitor. I think I mentioned this earlier this week, but Levi Clark hits the walk-off homer in the scrimmage last weekend in the Pizza Series, Game 2 of the Pizza Series. Chris Newstrom is out in left field, and he's walking off the field mad as a hornet. Like he just lost Game 7 of the World Series. He's just ultra competitive, and I'm sure I'm leaving others out of this freshman class, but they're really fun to watch, and I'm excited to see them in action against somebody else. All
right, let's take a quick timeout. The first one of the day, opening day for Tennessee baseball against Hofstra. Darnston Dubar. Go check out his homeboys. Nah, he probably needs to stay inside. It's too cold. Plus, Tennessee's getting ready for Vanderbilt tomorrow. trying to get revenge. 0-1 during revenge week for Tennessee. Trying to get to 500, get a win over Vanderbilt, put together a string of wins to reclaim the number 1 seed, hopefully, after Florida taking it over because Tennessee lost to Kentucky. All right, we'll go to the Beatty Chevrolet text box. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue. Yeah!
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marcos Garza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Good morning, Swain Event family. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. Spring is on the way, and that means the March Madness version of real estate is on the horizon. If you're in the home buying or selling mindset, don't wait until you're filling out your brackets to reach out. Get prepared and get in the game now. Call me at 865-694-5904 or visit my website at nextmovesmokymountains.com. Hope to hear from you soon, and go Vols.
Fellas, let's talk about getting back to your best. If you lack energy, muscle mass, feeling moody, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. You need to know your T levels, so get tested. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, and you'll find true experts at Low T Center. The guys are not all the same, so don't settle for a standard dosage TRT program. Learn about the personalized treatment at Low T Center and the results you can expect with customized TRT. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com to book an appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America, 865-255-03. Thanks for making the Swain Event part of your morning. Thank you for the adjustment. We're here on a beautiful Friday morning. A lot going on with the Tennessee Volunteer Athletic Program. Basketball, although we're very disappointed about the loss to Kentucky, keep in mind Tennessee is still 20-5. Guys, that's still pretty damn good. Tennessee, before last game, was considered a number 1 seed. Tennessee right now is the top number 2 seed with an opportunity. Not saying it's going to happen because I don't know, but with an opportunity to reclaim the number 1 spot. Just an opportunity. But you got to play well, and we've seen Tennessee play well. The consistency is what we want to see. But let's be honest here. Do we understand how hard it is to be consistent? Like, what teams out here? Name me 5 teams that are consistent in college basketball. It's hard. Like, you have off days, off nights. We do as humans. And so you just have to be better than the team you're playing at the right time. And that's what Tennessee is trying to do as we approach March Madness. It is opening day for Tennessee baseball. Asked Ben McKee about what he's excited about. I mentioned all the newcomers, all the freshmen. I think, Ben, we always are excited about the newcomers and freshmen in any sport, right? Football is always about the newcomers in spring, the freshmen, the transfers. Basketball is no different. We were excited about some of the new guys we got at the beginning of the season for basketball, and baseball is no different. So we're always trying to check out what the new players are going to do. All right, I'm going to the Betty Chevrolet text box. I saw this morning. Brian Hunsucker brings it up. Adam Schefter is reporting that Notre Dame is hiring Detroit Lions director of scouting as their GM. Will we see Tennessee go the GM route? It seems all the top schools are doing that. Well, here's the thing. Whether you call someone a GM, we've already should have been doing that. Evaluating, like, NFL organizations evaluates talent. That's what you should have been doing anyways. Just because you don't have a, quote, air quotes, GM doesn't mean you shouldn't have been taking that approach in the first place. Like, if we would have been taking that approach, then we wouldn't have some of the holes that we have in certain positions. So, yeah, like, if you're going to go and hire someone or name someone a GM, then obviously you want to take that approach. But, like, that should have been the approach the whole time. And I'm not just saying this because, he's a former teammate and we're friends, but, I mean, you had an NFL scout right there in your building, Kevin Simon. Now, I know he was part of the Pruitt regime, and I get cleansing everyone and everything from the Pruitt regime, but, I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, it just the optics are not the best when you have someone that played here, that spent so much time in the NFL, and you look at where college football is right now and going, and you see programs that were really good this year. They got to the college football playoff, and they're making moves like this, where they're saying, all right, we have to adopt an NFL model. Bill Belichick is in North Carolina. Notre Dame has brought in a GM. Like, Notre Dame tried to go get the Texas Tech GM, and he said no. Like, how? But, yeah, like, that should be the model, always should have been the model. Don't need a label or title to have that type of model. So, yeah, Hunsucker, man, I mean, whether you name one or that's the approach you're taking, like, that should be what you're doing, is how many guys are you recruiting in high school do you feel like will be NFL players? Because we have seen the programs that have the most NFL players, most pro players, are the teams that are the most successful in college football. When you look at the most NFL combine invites, at the bottom, OU, Texas A&M with 2. I just want you to let me know, Ben, if you see a direct correlation here. 3 combine invites: Auburn, Missouri, Kentucky. So I mentioned 5 schools: Auburn, Missouri, Kentucky, OU. Throw in Texas A&M too. Like, didn't have the seasons that they want to have. Arkansas, 5. Tennessee, 6 combine invites. LSU, 8. Florida, 9. Alabama, 9. Ole Miss, 11. South Carolina, 11. Texas and Georgia with 14. Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Alabama, these are all either playoff teams or fringe playoff teams. So, like, it lines up. It lines up. So you better have some NFL dudes or some pro players or pro prospects on your squad.
It's that simple.
It really is.
It's that simple. You need talent, and when evaluating whether or not you have enough talent, just look at the correlation with the NFL draft. I mean, how many years did we talk about Tennessee not having somebody drafted, Tennessee not having somebody invited to the combine, Tennessee having a player drafted after a punter, and Charles Davis is being mocked on national TV because of it. I mean, how many times did we have those type of conversations this time of year when Tennessee was not winning? And that has not been the case the last couple of seasons. Yes, Tennessee needs more talent in order to truly compete for a championship, but the roster is really healthy. There's a lot of talent on both sides of the football, and that is evident in the interest that is being shown by the NFL in Tennessee's players since Josh Heupel got to Tennessee. And not to be Mr. Baseball guy, but nobody's had more pitchers drafted than Tennessee since the COVID year. And look what Tennessee baseball has done since then. And I think in hitters, they're like second or third. They're right there at the top. And I think overall players drafted, it's them or LSU at the top. And look what Tennessee and LSU has done on the diamond the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. So it's a direct correlation. You've even seen it with Tennessee basketball. You haven't necessarily had the abundance of first-round picks, but guys are continuing to get professional opportunities, whether the NBA, G League, or overseas. Guys aren't done playing basketball when they leave Tennessee for the most part. Yep. They are continuing their basketball careers at the next level, whether it's here in America or whether it's overseas. So it's a direct correlation. We've always known that, and we are reminded every year. I mean, did you see the billboard the SEC put up outside of the Superdome at the Super Bowl? I think it was the Super Bowl. It might have been the national championship game or playoff game, but I think it was the Super Bowl last week.
Yeah, it was Super Bowl.
Yeah. Gloating, rightfully so, and bragging on how many players have been drafted from the SEC, by far the most of any conference. It's no coincidence that they have been the best football conference because they've had the most talent.
Yep.
Who has the most talent? Which conference in college basketball has the most talent this year?
SEC.
And who is having the most success this year?
The SEC.
There you go.
I like easy questions, Ben. Thank you, man.
I do too.
Make me feel smart. Mike in North Georgia says, "Hey, fellas, miss y'all and being able to call more. Number one, hire Kevin Simon immediately as GM. Do it, bring him back, whatever title they want to call it. Number two, is Lanier hurt? He used to try to yam on people, which means dunk, and it's a lot of crap getting thrown into the backboard or blocked into the bleachers sometime now. When I mentioned Kevin Simon, I didn't mention him to say that Tennessee needs to hire Kevin Simon, but I just said I meant the optics. Does it look great when you have someone that was in your build, especially someone who played that has that background? And if Tennessee was sitting here with, some I guess some better situations at certain position groups, then like no one would be bringing this up and it wouldn't be a topic. If Tennessee was operating like an NFL organization and there were a ton of positions that had a lot of depth and a lot of pro prospects and there was no questions about having to play young players here and there or having to go to the transfer portal because these amount of players didn't work out, it wouldn't have mattered if you have someone with the GM title or not. Like, the antennas are raised and eyebrows are raised because you look at Notre Dame, and they're obviously in front of us. You look at some of the other programs that are in a good position, and they have GM people that have the title. I don't think the title is necessary. I just think the action is necessary. Like, who
Do you
cares about
think
title?
Tennessee has had that action, because there are some staff members behind the scenes that I think it would be fair to think of them providing that action. I think of the Scott Altizers of the world. I think in a sense, maybe he's not the head guy, but he sure does have a large say in the conversations. He doesn't make the final decision like a general manager does. So do you think there's enough people behind the scenes? But I would also argue, like, I hear what you're saying about action.
Can I ask you a question right quick?
Yes, sir.
Scott was in recruiting when I was coming up, and so like his title is not GM. And you mentioned like he may not have the final say, but how do we know that these coaches who have hired GMs, that those GMs have final say? Because really, at the end of the day, the head coach, they're the ones that have the final say. Period. Point blank. So, how much freedom are these head coaches giving GMs at other places? Because it can't be equal all places. Like, all right, you could bring in a GM, but like, is Marcus Freeman saying, "Hey, man, I'm leaving it up to you. Construct my roster, and I have nothing to add"? Or are you bringing in a GM and saying, "All right, before you offer a kid, I need you to run it past me. And when you run it past me, I'm going to say, I don't know. No, I don't think we should offer that kid." So, like, how much freedom are GMs given, and how much are the GMs able to do their job without input from the head coach? That's like, every situation is different. So I just wanted to add that.
No, that's a good point to add, and something that I was thinking of as well while you were talking. I mean, the NFL deals with that. You have organizations where it's clear, okay, the GM is the one calling the shots when it comes to roster decisions. But then there are other situations in which, like, I don't think Nick Sirianni is having a large.
Nope.
I mean, it's Howie Roseman, right? The GM there.
Howie Roseman, the best.
Yes.
NFL.
Right. I mean, I'm sure he's going to Nick Sirianni and consulting, which he should. That would be. I don't think you're being a good GM if you're not at least gauging the thoughts of your head coach, or like, I'll use my baseball example with my Yankees, is like Brian Cashman, who's been in charge of the Yankees forever at this point. He makes the decisions. He makes the final say on the roster. I mean, there was talk last week about him going out at the deadline last year and adding a player that he wanted to play second base, and then the second baseman moving to third base. And the manager, Aaron Boone, wasn't necessarily with it, but he went and consulted him, got his opinion, and still went through with the decision. So you have those different situations where it's by far the GM is the one calling all the shots. But I think if you're doing a good job as a GM, you are at least consulting your coach and not just making decisions out of the blue like our guy Nico down in Dallas just blindsided Jason Kidd with the Luka Doncic trade.
Yeah.
So I think it just differs and varies on the situation. Like John Lynch has the final say in San Francisco, but it seems like Kyle Shanahan has a large, loud voice and is able to have a lot of input. Andy Reid, you're going to tell me that Andy Reid doesn't have a lot of input?
Yeah,
Bill Belichick was his own GM for the longest time. So I think it's based on each situation, and also, I guess, bringing it back to the college level, the college coach has to decide how much power he is willing to give up. Because I think I would want a GM if I was a college coach. One that is controlling my roster as long as we are having good conversations and he is allowing me to share my input, because there's just so many responsibilities as a head coach right now and so many headaches to deal with. That would be a load off of my plate. If I had somebody managing the roster, I mean, that would be a huge benefit, and I can just focus on coaching ball. But it would come down to, okay, hopefully our school makes the right hire and hiring the right GM that's going to set me up, just like at the pro level. But then also, because college coaches are so power hungry, who's going to be the one that's willing to concede roster decisions to an established GM? And I think that's what it would take, is the person being an established GM. Like, I believe Notre Dame's bringing in the director of scouting from the Lions. Like, is that enough weight to where Marcus Freeman's going to feel comfortable with him making the decisions on his own?
Better, because I don't know why you would even leave the NFL if Marcus Freeman is not giving you that power. Well, I don't care how much money getting paid.
I agree with you, but I do think the title of general manager at Notre Dame is a better title for the resume than director of scouting for the Lions.
Shh, I almost cussed. Hey, do you understand that this dude that's director of scouting for the Lions is on his way to being a GM?
No, I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah,
but you don't think just the simple title of being general manager of Notre Dame is more prestigious than director of scouting for the Lions? Like, being the head coach at...
It sounds good, but Ben, like, think about Rand Carthon.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in scouting. And then he obviously did a good job to put himself in position to be the GM of the Titans. That's kind of the next step for someone that's in scouting. And you look at the best construction job of the NFL in the last 5 years, it's the Detroit Lions, especially when you look at how they built it from the bottom. All right,
yeah,
built it from top, bottom, and now they're here. All right, you like that? I know you do. But with that on your resume, man, you're going to be in line for NFL GM jobs, and you don't have to worry about NIL. You have to worry about immature kids. You have to worry about parents and handlers and agents with no parameters and no guardrails like there are with the NFLPA. So, yeah, it's more prestigious sounding, but you might have been in a better spot staying in the NFL for another 1 or 2 years and having an opportunity to be a GM at the NFL level. That's all I'm saying.
No, I hear you and I agree with you. I do wonder, and I would assume from the outside looking in, that if that resume you laid out, I mean, because you're spot on about the Lions roster construction, and he may not be the GM, but the director of scouting has a large say in putting that roster together, helping put that roster together. I imagine he would not leave what is a comfortable position in Detroit at the moment for college and having to deal with everything that you just said if he wasn't going to have – I would assume he's going to have vast majority of control of the roster.
Yeah.
And Marcus Freeman strikes me as a guy that would allow somebody because I think that's what Marcus does best. I think he's a great defensive mind, but he's a great CEO first and foremost, which is why I think he's having success as a college coach. And he strikes me as somebody who would be more than willing to relinquish a lot of the roster decisions to somebody that he trusts. And I imagine somebody with this resume would be someone that you would trust.
I agree.
And look, again, everything that you said about the headaches of being a college coach right now, that's why I would want a GM. If I'm Marcus Freeman, I'd want this guy to come deal with all those things that you just talked about. I'd want somebody to come deal with those for me, especially if I know I can trust them.
Let me holler at you for a minute, Ben. I'm looking at Tennessee's support staff, okay? And Brian Hunsucker brought up a really good question, really good point about Notre Dame hiring a GM, okay? That title of GM, having a GM, someone that came from the Detroit Lions organization, which that seems like a hell of a hire, hell of a move for the Notre Dame program. But as I look at Tennessee support staff, I'm not mentioning names. I'm just going to mention the titles that people are holding right now. You have a gentleman who is the director of player personnel. You have another gentleman that is the director of internal and advanced scouting. You have another gentleman that is director of recruiting. That's 3 people. You have another gentleman that's director of scouting. That's 4 people. Ain't that a GM?
The title is yes.
Like those four individuals shouldn't that be what a GM, that one person, that one title, that's a GM. Like do you need the title? Because that's what a GM is going to do. All those things I just mentioned, those 4 guys doing on our staff currently, what's the difference between those 4 dudes being really good at what they're doing and hiring or having one person just be a GM? Because the action is still the same. You better scout properly. You better recruit properly. You better have some advanced scouting. That's one. Like director of player personnel, like that. All that's in the same category. It's all in the same boat to me.
You're right. You're absolutely right. The difference is who is calling the shots, who has the final say. That is the difference between a general manager and what you just described.
Because you got 4 dudes, right?
Correct. But at the end of the day, like those 4 dudes are doing what a GM does. But at the end of the day, Josh Heupel calls the final shot. He makes the final decision, and that's where I think the general manager in college conversation boils down to is, yes, all of these programs like Notre Dame and Tennessee, your elite college football programs that have all the resources in the world, they're going to have a million staff members who fulfill the responsibilities of a GM. But then they take their work and they present it to the head coach, and the head coach makes the final decision on whether or not to offer a guy, whether or not to cut a kid from the recruiting class, to take this kid in the recruiting class after they have recruited them, portal decisions. Like at the end of the day, as it pertains to Tennessee, Josh Heupel is making that final decision, even if he has an army of staff members that are fulfilling the responsibilities of a general manager. That's the difference. It is our colleges. I know we've seen colleges hire general managers. I'd be curious to know how many of them are truly calling the shots.
Yeah.
Because that is the difference between what you were talking about and the actual title of a general manager.
Yeah. Anytime you have a team compete for a national championship and they make a move like this, everybody else is going to say, well, that's what we need to do. Or why are we not doing that? And that's kind of where we are right now, which is pretty normal and natural. All right, let's go back. Well, let's go to the phones, 865-255-03. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up?
Nothing. This is Justin in Florida.
Justin in Florida, man. What's up, man? Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, how you guys doing? Happy day 1 of baseball season.
I thought you were going to say happy Valentine's Day.
Justin, will you be my Valentine? Happy opening day to you.
A Yankee fan and a Steeler fan? Sorry, man.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a weird combination. I know. I will say I'm going to plug my own work here. My Diamond Vols podcast. We are going to have a Boston Red Sox player on the podcast next week. Mm-hmm. So our guy Will Heflin, making his SEC Network broadcasting debut today. He's going to be on the call for the Tennessee baseball game as an analyst. So be on the lookout for that if you're not able to attend. But Will Heflin was teammates with Garrett Crochet, and Garrett Crochet is going to join us on the podcast on Wednesday, which will be super
really
cool
nice.
Crochet just traded from the White Sox to the Red Sox, just reported this week to spring training. So greatly appreciate him taking some of his time to chat with us. That should be a fun conversation because his final year, what was going to be his breakout year, was the COVID year that got cut short. And interested to see what he has to say about what it's been like to follow Tennessee baseball since his playing days ended. And then, of course, the move to the Red Sox this offseason. So be on the lookout for that this week.
Nice. Definitely will. Quick, actually, since we're talking baseball, the one thing that I'm curious to see about baseball this year is how, now that we've raised the trophy and hung the banner, as they say, I want to see how we follow it up. Can we keep on that constant pressure? If I was a betting person, my faith is in Tony and the players to absolutely do that. But this season defines you as, are you really that perennial program to deal with, or, are you just one of the guys in the mix? Because we've seen that with other programs like South Carolina. They go out and win it and then slowly kind of, fall off, taper off. I want to see us just every year be that team where it's like, all right, we know they're going to be in the final four, final eight in Omaha. But
is that what it would take for them to prove that to you? What is your expectation for this year's team? This is something I'm fascinated by. I'd love to hear more comments on the text box about expectations for Tennessee baseball this season. What is your expectation, and is that the same as what you think needs to happen in order for them to establish themselves as that perennial title contender that you just described?
Yeah, it's hard for me to make that prediction as of yet. I think you are correct. I think you're going to have a lot of young guys. I mean, super, super, super talented young guys. But how did they progress? Is there, do they come out of the gates hot, cool down, or, is it the opposite? Do they come out cool, take a while to kind of, learn the pitching, learn the style? Hate making predictions, especially in baseball. I think football is easier because you're talking about less games, and baseball, basketball, I think is a little bit more of a marathon than say football is, just because of the amount of games they play. But I don't know. I haven't seen any of the players yet. Haven't seen any of the pitching yet. So I'll make that determination once I watch a few games. But real reason I was calling in was this whole GM conversation. And I think a big piece is being, I guess, overlooked on this. I mean, your head coaches, they are or should be the GM. At the NFL level, can a head coach fire a GM? No. Can a GM fire a head coach? Yeah. So really, at the end of the day, it's up to the GM. They have the final say so. I can tell you right now, I don't care who they bring in with a title GM. That's still going to be up to the head coach. They are the GM. What I think a lot of these programs are doing is creating a GM position to lure away scouts from the NFL level that are essentially, they can kind of hand over some of the scouting responsibility. Plus, I mean, Swain, I would ask you, if you're getting recruited by a school and they said, well, our GM's kind of running this show. Hey, I was the director of scouting from the Detroit Lions. Let me tell you right now, we see you as this. We see you projected going to the league, this and that. Don't you think that message going to hit a hell of a lot harder?
A whole lot harder, man. I almost committed when you just said that.
Yeah. So I think what's happening is, a director of scouting, if you come to Notre Dame, you're not taking the director of scouting position. I think we can probably all agree that if the position is the same between college and the NFL, more often than not, someone's going to take the NFL road versus the college road. I think what's happening here is they're creating a position and title to lure some of that NFL staff talent to the college level to help them in the recruiting.
Correct. I mean, it's a hell of a move. I mean,
it's a very, very smart move. But,
yeah.
I mean, you said it yourself. You go through the titles that we already have on staff, and, what are you going to see? You're going to see a lot of those responsibilities are already being done. It's going to hit a lot different, though, when it's guys that are out there talking to kids, talking to families, and they just spent the last 5 years at, the NFL level. I'll tell you right now, I mean, if I was Heupel, we have a special teams coordinator position open, I'd be looking for someone with some NFL ties. I'd be looking to get some NFL pedigree on the offensive side of the ball.
Hey, man.
Why?
I agree with you.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what is the one knock against Josh Heupel and his offense when it comes from other schools, other fan bases?
Don't prepare
It's a gimmick offense. They don't do it at the NFL.
Mm.
What if you added a few NFL staff members that now can say, hey, you know something? That's actually not true. These are some of the concepts. Yeah, they do it the up-tempo, and you're not going to see up-tempo in the NFL, but put the tempo aside. What they're doing, how they're running their routes, how they're running the concepts against this defense or that defense, you absolutely do at the NFL. I think part of our problem in certain areas is, Glenn Ellerby, no NFL experience. Kelsey Pope, internal promotion, no NFL experience. Ablin, same thing. Darrell Sims, arguably on the offensive side of the ball, your most tenured coach is Glenn Ellerby. Everybody else is like an up-and-comer. I think Heupel would do himself a major, major service if he went out and just added maybe one or two guys that, have coached and developed at an NFL level. And I think that would definitely help us, on the trail and kind of get us over the hump. And it would also help us in development. But I'm going to hang up, listen to the rest of the show. You guys take care.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Oof. I can't really disagree with a lot of the points there. It's about getting to the next level for these players, and the good players, they want the bag, which anybody can give them the bag, but what anyone can't give that player is the best path to the NFL and developing them and preparing them for the NFL. Not everybody can do that. Everybody can give you a bag because everyone has money, but who is going to put that player in a position to grow as a human, grow as a football player, and make sure that they are prepared to go to the next level? That's I'm telling you, that's what it's about. On top of the winning part, that's important too. But that's how you get the top prospects.
Would you be for or against Josh Heupel having a general manager, a true general manager, the traditional GM that calls all the shots?
I would be for Heupel having someone like Notre Dame just hired.
Yes,
like that.
I would as well. I want food to be taken off the plate of my college football coach right now. There's too much going on. There's too much going on to be able to execute every area flawlessly. Even if you have a large staff, as a head coach, there's just too much going on to handle it all. You need help.
Well,
you do, and that's my biggest thing.
We need to look around and look at what top colleges are doing. Like, they have an NFL machine. Like, it's a farm league.
It's a minor league system.
Yeah, like you look at Ohio State, you look at Alabama and Georgia over the last couple of years. They don't necessarily have a GM, but their scouting department, recruiting department is turning out results like the Detroit Lions are doing at the NFL level. So they don't have a GM title or anyone holding that title, which is why, for me, all right, the title sounds cool. It sounds like you are more of a pro model. But if the GM comes in and he sucks, then it's no different than having 4 or 5 dudes with little titles and sucking too.
Well, you definitely have to make the right hire.
You gotta make the right one. So
you do. The more important thing to me, though, is if you're gonna hire a general manager, let him be a general manager. Don't bring in, because what you described earlier, Tennessee already has guys that technically fulfills the responsibility of a general manager, or at least has a group of people that collectively fill the role of a general manager. Yeah. So don't hire a general manager and bring him in to where he's not calling the shots. If you're going to go the GM route, go the GM route. Bring somebody in, make the right hire, and obviously that there's risk involved, no different than hiring a head coach or a position coach or support staff roles. Make the right hire and allow him to build your roster and take food off of the plate of your head coach. And with all the questions right now about Josh Heupel's offense and maybe it need to, grow and take the next step, and questions about development and recruiting, like I think it'd be really beneficial for Josh Heupel to have somebody that is helping him call the shots, or definitively calling the shots. I think that'd be a great benefit right now.
Yeah, he just has to make sure that if he does that, then you trust him, because that person is going to be responsible for your success. I mean, strength coach.
There's no doubt about it.
GM, that's going to be the guys responsible for you, because you got to get the players, and then you have to develop the players mentally and physically. And so your strength coach and the GM, those are going to be the two most important people to a head coach in college football moving forward, if you decide to go the GM route. All right, back to the text box. Chip Payne wants to know, which sport is more difficult in the SEC, basketball or baseball? Ben, I'm going to say this year, like the calendar year, I think it's basketball. But I think over the last 5 years or the last 7 years, I think it's baseball. But like just this year, I think it's basketball.
I'd say it's equal. What basketball is this year, this has been SEC baseball every year.
Okay.
For a long time now. I'd say it's equal.
Okay. I'm with you. Adam Carter, as long as Tony V is the coach, the goal always should be to host a regional. When you asked about expectations of this baseball team, is that like the we call that also the floor
for this year's team?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's the floor moving forward until something changes.
Mm-hmm.
But with the way that they are acquiring talent, both at the high school ranks and through the portal, that is certainly the floor, hosting a regional. What are your expectations? I mean, I know you don't know the ins and outs of the roster, which is why I am intrigued by your answer. Just knowing how good they are at their jobs over there and all the resources that they now have coming off a national championship. I don't even want to – that's why I asked on the text box, just without even knowing like the ins and outs of the roster and being in wait and see mode. I mean, just that aside, kind of what are your generic expectations for this year's team coming off a national championship?
I mean, I just look at what Tony has built, and I understand like when you win, you get more players, and when you get more players that are good, you have a better chance of continuing to win, and that's what Tony has going right now. That doesn't guarantee you a championship, because luck is always involved in terms of injuries. Chemistry can always change when you have different pieces to the puzzle come in and lead the program. And then the execution. I mean, the execution, there are times when it could be football, it could be basketball, it could be baseball, where it comes down to one or two plays by one or two people who are special. And Tennessee was able to beat Florida State when they did the first time, is because you had your best players step up in key moments and play the best. And I don't care what sport it is. At the end of the day, you need your best players to play the best. Look at the Super Bowl. Eagles' best players play better than the Chiefs' best players. I mean, you can go down the line with any Tennessee basketball game that's played this year, any Lady Vol basketball game that's been played this year. If your best players get outplayed by the opponent's best players, you're probably going to lose more times than not. So, without deep diving into the roster like you do, that's how I look at this program. This team that should be like the first goal is to host a regional, right? Like that should be expected.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
You should be one of those top teams in the country. And it's not like they're only picking 4 teams to host regionals. Like you should be one of the 16. Yeah, you should be year in year out one of the top 16 programs in the league, because you're constantly top 3, top 5 in recruiting. So yeah, I mean, the regional should be just a given. Like, all right, what ticket you want this season? If you can pick any tickets, well, it's the regional, because I know we're going to go there. Like, that should be the conversation with Tennessee baseball fans.
Yes, I totally agree. Now that doesn't mean that you just settle for that.
No.
That can be the
just know
the
you
bare
going.
minimum.
Yeah, you just know you going to the regional. If you're a Tennessee
Yes.
baseball fan, you can hang your hat that Tennessee is going to be hosting a regional. That's not a big deal like it was a couple of years ago when we hosted LSU and beat them and we had the block party. Like we not the same program.
No.
Like that's the
and
floor now.
That was a super regional, but still, point remains.
Super regional.
That point remains, though. Like that Tennessee is not the same baseball program in 2025 that it was in 2021. So I totally agree. And then I feel like everything after that is like when you can really truly start to appreciate a season, if that makes sense. I wanted to quickly. Mike in North Georgia, you read his message earlier. He did have two questions. He asked about K. Simon. He also asked if Chaz Lanier is hurt. Yeah. Chaz is not hurt. He just needs to be better and more aggressive when he is driving towards the rim. That's something that Rick Barnes has been on him about all season, is driving with urgency, because
Chaz, it's
not that he's not playing with effort. It's just that because of the level that he's been at, he thinks that he has more time than he actually has. And so trying to speed up that internal clock, I think, would be the difference in getting some of these shots blocked at the rim. He did at least get one there towards the end of the game where he yammed on one of the Kentucky players. But no, Chaz Lanier is not hurt.
Yeah, good catch there. Appreciate that. Rodney and Austell. So the GM title is about optics.
Sometimes. Some of them, I bet, are.
It can be, but like Turkey Man put on the text box, we were talking about the programs that don't have a GM. They have the recruiting director, and the director of scouting, and the assistant director of this and that. So you got a couple guys that's in the recruiting office. And Turkey Man said you got too many. You can have too many cooks in the kitchen. Whereas with one GM, when it comes to personnel, like he's the decision maker or whatever. And Justin's right. Like head coach in college, he is the GM. Like he ultimately makes the decision at the end of the day. But I wouldn't say the GM title is only for optics. But it does look good too. Like it ain't only optics, but it looks good when you can say to a player, hey man, here's our GM that has NFL experience, and we scouted this player, and we see you being this player because we know you want to get to the NFL. Like I remember, this was like 2000 in the mid-10s, 2010s, and like you rarely heard the term GM. And remember Austin Thomas, the Tennessee grad, was at LSU all those years, and was calling himself GM. And like folks kind of laughed at it and side-eyed it. And he was about to join Jeremy Pruitt's staff. And I remember talking to him because I was really excited about someone that loved Tennessee like he loved Tennessee. He's an alum, and it fell through. And the reason why I think it fell through is because Pruitt was like, GM, I'm not bringing in a GM. I'm the GM. I'm not giving this guy GM role and thinking he's running the show. I'm running the show when it comes to recruiting. I know what it's supposed to look like. I was at Alabama. So like really hesitant then to hire GMs or let the guys come in as GMs. But now, man, you're seeing it left and right. It's
every situation is going to be different. There are going to be schools that execute it flawlessly if they decide to go that route. There are going to be schools that if they go that route, they bring somebody in and they don't actually let him be the GM. It's no different than what we see at the professional level. Some organizations can't get out of their own way, can't make the right hires. That no different in college. It's no different than hiring a head coach, no different than hiring coordinators. Yeah. And I would almost liken it to the schools that maybe hire a GM and label somebody as a GM, but then the head coach is ultimately still making the final decision. It's kind of like what Josh Heupel and whoever his offensive coordinator is right now, and not just Josh Heupel, but for those football head coaches out there who are known for one side of the ball, and their offensive coordinators never really get credit because of who the head coach is and what they specialize in. Like Joey Halzle, like when Tennessee's offense is clicking, nobody's talking about Joey Halzle. Everybody's talking about Josh Heupel, right? So I can see scenarios like that. I mean, it's who was the GM when Bill Belichick was in his final years in New England?
Bill Belichick. Bill
Correct.
Belichick was always GM, which is why he failed, because he was a bad GM but a good coach.
You're right. That's maybe not the best example, but there will be coaches who overshadow the GM and to where, like the point on the text box, like it is strictly just a title because you're not actually allowing the GM to do GM things.
Yeah, it just depends on the situation. Because Jerry Jones is the GM and the owner. Well, you look at the Steelers, your organization, the owner, he knows his role. You have the owner of the Cleveland Browns, Haslam, who wanted Deshaun Watson. You had the Raiders, Al Davis. He wanted Jamarcus Russell. Lane Kiffin did not want Jamarcus Russell. He wanted Calvin Johnson in 2007. So it just depends on the organization. Are you empowering your people to let them do their job, or are you trying to do their job for them, even though you've hired them to do that job? So again, it just depends, man. Owners, hire GM, let the GM work. GM, hire a coach, let the coach work. That's the way it's supposed to be. And so when you have these roles where the lines are blurred because of ego, that's when you have problems. And there's plenty of examples of that, baseball, basketball, and football at the pro level. Camden, Tennessee Vol says, is Peyton ever asked to come in and evaluate the offense? Seems like a good move, too. I haven't heard that to happen. I haven't heard that happening at all, actually. I'm sure they have conversations about certain offense concepts here and there, but Peyton, I think, really tries not to overstep his boundaries. I mean, he just try to offer support to whoever's coaching and offer his help to anybody that wants it. Jennifer Morris says, have to give a shout out to Ben and the crew for the Diamonds Vols podcast. Great episode yesterday. And she wants a shirt that says Little Combs.
I appreciate the shout out. Also appreciate you listening. Again, very cool to see how many people are excited about Tennessee baseball. And we need a Combs t-shirt, but I don't know that Ryan Combs, Aaron Combs' little brother, would appreciate being called Little Combs. So we can come up with a Combs t-shirt, just maybe not call him Little Combs.
Speaking of Jennifer Morris, follow Jennifer Morris on Instagram. She's going to be giving away baseball tickets throughout the season. We have our first giveaway that we're going to do today, and I think it's a good time to announce our winner for the Tennessee baseball tickets in the future for the St. Bonaventure series here in a couple of weeks. So if you have followed Jennifer Morris and in the running Instagram, continue to do so because this person did so. This person that Ben McKee is going to name is our winner of the baseball tickets.
That's right, and it's Tina R. Tina R is our winner, longtime listener, and big-time supporter of the Swain event. Tina R is the winner of the baseball tickets against St. Bonaventure, which will be a ton of fun at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Tina, just be careful walking into the stadium. Sparks are going to be flying over your head. There's going to be construction to your left, right, front, and back. Just got to keep your head on a swivel when you're walking into Lindsey Nelson this year. They were literally working through the night last night to put the finishing touches on opening day for what they could get completed. But Tina R is our winner, courtesy of Jennifer Morris of Keller Williams Realty. Tina and I chat quite often. So, Tina, just send me a DM on Instagram, or you can DM Jennifer, either one, and we can make sure that we get info exchanged and get you hooked up there with those tickets. And for anybody who is looking to make a move in the real estate market, Jennifer Morris can help you accomplish whatever you want to accomplish: buying, selling, investing. Jennifer, she can help you get the job done, or she knows people that can help you get the job done. So please, for all of your real estate needs, reach out to Jennifer Morris of Keller Williams Realty.
All right, let's go to the phones. 865-255-03. Good morning. Good morning. Going once. Going twice. All right, give us a call back. 865-255-03. Betty Chevrolet text box.
Speaking of the text box, Double J with a message I like here. I'm so excited for baseball this weekend. I look for Marcus Phillips and Dylan Lloyd to make progress on the mound this year. And the reason I wanted to certainly mention, I don't know, you would have read off this message, but
I was going to ask you about Marcus Phillips at some point today.
Yes, I'm glad, because you were talking earlier about how it's easy to be excited to watch all the newcomers, and certainly so. That's why that was my answer to start the show. But if you did not allow me to say the newcomers, my answer would be Marcus Phillips.
Yeah.
I am so excited to watch him pitch this year. I've watched him pitch in scrimmages throughout the fall and preseason, and he's been terrific. But really excited to see how he performs this season against others and against SEC teams. I mean, he when he has it on, he's a fun pitcher to watch. A lot of gas in that right arm, high velocity fastball. Really worked on his breaking balls and off speed pitches. And I think he's in for a big year. He's matured a lot. Not that he was immature. He's just a year older. He wasn't like doing anything bad when I say he's matured. He's just a year older. He's more comfortable in the Tennessee baseball program. He's a great young man. His teammates love him. His coaches love him. He's a phenomenal story. From South Dakota. His dad was in the big leagues. I actually think his dad still works in the Yankees organization.
He's from South Dakota?
He is from South Dakota. He is from a northern state and grew up. I guess I don't know how long he lived in South Dakota. I think he grew up in South Dakota, and so played high school baseball in South Dakota, went to a year of junior college at Iowa Western, and then last year was his first year at Tennessee. So being from a cold state, a little further behind in development, never really had the opportunities that he has now had at Tennessee, and he's taken them and run with them. So he's an awesome story, and I'm really excited for him. He has earned this starting role to start the year, and I'm excited to see what he does with it.
Yeah, like we saw glimpses of really good stuff from him early in his career. He would come in, he had the velocity, and I remember conversations with you, the command wasn't where it needed to be a weekend starter or be someone that gave you a lengthy amount of innings when he was pitching in relief. And so for him now to be in this role means that he has grown, he's developed, he's earned the trust of the best pitching coach, in baseball. And I'm happy for him. This is my first time ever seeing a brother from South Dakota. This is awesome.
Yeah, I need to do some research. I don't know how he ended up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I don't know how long he lived there, but he did attend Roosevelt High School in Sioux Falls, where he lettered in both baseball and basketball for 4 years. And he was actually he either was Mr. Basketball his senior year, or he was like runner-up to Mr. Basketball, for Mr. Basketball in South Dakota. And I don't care if it's South Dakota or not. That's pretty cool to be runner-up in state for basketball. And his dad, Steve, played college football and baseball at Kentucky before playing 5 years of professional baseball in the New York Yankees organization. After his playing career, Marcus's dad got into coaching and spent 10 years as a coach in the minor leagues. And I believe that was with the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken. So I will ask when I'm over there today if he grew up in South Dakota or how he ended up in South Dakota. That's fascinating question and a story worth finding out. You'll appreciate this part. I've got 2 things from his bio that you'll appreciate on utsports.com. 1, he chose Tennessee over LSU.
Okay.
2, his favorite actor.
Denzel
Washington.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, my man.
You got my man. Yo, I saw Marcus Phillips at a department store. Yeah. It was Target, whatever. And that's a big dude, man.
We make all the jokes about taking basketball and baseball players and putting them on a football field. If there's one who could do it, it would be Marcus Phillips.
That dude, he a big dude. It says
6'4",
250. Man,
yes.
he a big dude.
And it's muscle too.
Imagine trying to hit someone 6'4", 250, looking like they can play outside linebacker in the NFL. That's him. That's who I thought it was.
You were looking at him trying to figure out which newcomer he was on the football team?
Nah, I knew he wasn't a newcomer looking like that. Nah, but I knew that mustache. Baseball players, y'all like to have that stash. I won't call it what other people call it, but you know what I'm talking about. Camden, Tennessee Vol, I made a comment about Kevin Simon not being employed by Tennessee. Listen, I understand the position that I'm in. I play with Kevin. And I'm trying to be like as objective as possible here. Like, it don't matter if it was Kevin or someone else. Like, and this have been whispers for the last couple of years. And I don't know why that decision was made not to, keep him on or whatever. And at the time, I respected it because, hey, man, you got to do what you think is successful. And I respect the decision now. But when you look at the roster and some of the questions, it's fair to ask, well, why didn't you keep a dude that that was a scout in the NFL for so long? Why didn't you keep him on board to try to avoid some of these things that have happened with the roster and development and evaluation over the last couple of years? Like, that's a pretty fair question. So, you're in a good place. You just got to take the next step, and to do that, you have to take it up a notch in that department. Notre Dame played for a national championship, and they feel like they got to take it up to the next level with that hire. So if they are saying that, then everyone needs to be saying that. And the people who are actually making those type of moves or putting in the work to do better in that department, those are the schools who are serious about winning. If you ain't making moves, and just because you're not hiring a GM doesn't mean you're not making those moves. But if you're not putting those actions in every single day to improve the roster, then you ain't serious about winning a championship. You might tell your fans you're serious about winning a championship, but there's no way you're serious about winning a championship if you're not putting in those actions each and every day to eval, recruit, and develop, because that's the only way you're going to win at a high level, along with the money, too. The money matters.
To hammer home the K. Simon point, lastly and quickly, what position unit was he down on prior to the season that probably people didn't like to hear over the summer, and as folks were getting excited for the season, which position unit was K. Simon like, I don't know, and we were picking at him about it, having more fun with it than anything, but K. Simon was like, I don't know about this group. What position was that, Swain?
Receivers.
And true or false, the receivers ended up being what K. Simon thought they were going to be.
Yeah, he was dead on.
He was dead on. And the point that I'm making to back up what you said is just that when you look at some of the roster deficiencies, and you have it's fair to call him a veteran NFL scout, right? I mean, he did it, almost 10 years? Within 5 to 10, somewhere in that range. I mean,
yeah, 5 and 10.
It wasn't like he did it
with the
for a year or
Cowboys
two.
and the Falcons. And like again, reminder, this is not to
No.
be like stumping for Kevin Simon and he was done wrong and like.
No.
Hey man, there's been former players that have been on staff that are no longer on staff. Like Terry Fair and others. And like at the end of the day, it's a business, and you got to do what you got to do. We've had VFL coordinators like I'm not trying to gang up on anybody to throw support behind a player just because he played here, because it is a touchy subject. But just trying to be objective as possible here.
Right. Absolutely. I echo those thoughts. But, I mean, to your point about we talk about some of these positions and we hear K. Simon talking about them publicly before the positions even reach that point. And, like, you have a resource that's here in town that would be happy to help. Although, if K. Simon was offered a role within the Tennessee football program or the Tennessee baseball program, which role do you think he would take?
Baseball.
He loves himself some baseball and loves Tennessee baseball. He was hitting me up yesterday as we were trying to get out the door to the Lady Vols game. He had just listened to our baseball podcast at Go Vols 24/7, and he's like, "Hey, you got 5 minutes? Can I ask you a couple questions?" And I said, "Hey, call me in the morning. We're trying to get out the door to go to the Lady Vols." I love me some K. Simon.
Man, he's serious about his Tennessee baseball, man. He is so serious. He loves it, man. He loves it.
I think baseball is to him what basketball was to you. Like I think that was his favorite sport growing up, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas basketball was your favorite sport growing up.
It is my favorite sport. I was in paradise last night, man. I had the women's game on. I had to turn from Syracuse to Stanford. Ugh, it was terrible. The lady game. But then I started turning in. I was watching – what men's game was I watching? I forgot. But you
watched Juju last night?
Man, I missed Juju. I missed that matchup, man. I saw what you did, though. Whew.
I was too busy winning a national championship on NCAA football.
I'm sure.
My fourth one, and back-to-back, I might add.
I'm sure. But you're right, man. I love college basketball. K. Simon loves baseball, and I mean loves Tennessee baseball. He had a relationship, has a relationship with the Burks, Blake Burke family, and so man, he is dialed in when it comes to Tennessee baseball. If you are in need of a vehicle, it could be pre-owned, it could be new. Beatty Chevrolet, Parkside Drive, that's your first phone call. If you are outside Knoxville, or if you're at home and hey, you don't want to get to the lot today, go check out their inventory on the website, BettyChevrolet.com, locally owned and operated for over 90 years. I have a car from Beatty Chevrolet right here in my household. So I've went through the process just like many have, and just like you can if you call Beatty Chevrolet with your vehicle shopping needs. So you can buy with confidence with their Beatty warranty for life. Again, BettyChevrolet.com is the website.
Mike in Georgia, my man. See?
What do you say?
Ben's got a good GM on NCAA. That's right. Ben McKee, the head coach and general manager of what school do you think I'm playing as?
Army.
I elevated. I started at Liberty. This is a league I'm in with my buddies. So we all started at a non-Power 5 school, or I guess non-Power 4 at this point. We started at Liberty, led Liberty to a national championship in my second year after Oregon got the best of me in year one. And then I got the Notre Dame job, won a national championship there in my second year. And then I left Notre Dame for a school. What school do you think I left them for?
Army.
No, the Texas Longhorns.
Now, how the hell am I supposed to guess that?
What school do you think is worth leaving Notre Dame for? I mean, I was at a great school, very prestigious. I appreciate the Notre Dame people and how they treated me and my family in South Bend. I had elite recruiting classes. There were no conversations about NIL,
Don't you feel
recruiting, development, offense. I mean, my defensive front was elite,
Are you
like
proud of
Ohio
yourself?
State times 10 this year.
Are you proud of yourself right now?
Oh, I'm very proud of myself because I'm beating my friends in the process to win these national championships, and that's a bragging right that feels real good, Clark. I have the most championships in our league. I now have 4.
You cover Tennessee, man. Where's
The
your
next
loyalty?
second person has 1.
Where's your loyalty? You cover Tennessee. You have a degree
Well,
from
no,
Tennessee.
you can't go there because I have a Tennessee dynasty. I have 2. I have my Tennessee one that I'm 5 for 5 in national championships. I might add. James Pierce Jr., Caleb Herring, Jordan Ross, Dylan Sampson have all won Heisman trophies. We have been elite on Rocky Top under Coach McKee's guidance. There's no discourse about player development and coaching changes and NIL. We all, I mean, it's all checked off. A+ in every department, 5 straight national championships. But then I have one with my buddies, and since I play with Tennessee all the time, I figured I'd do different schools. And it is easy to be at Texas. You get all the recruits. You don't have to recruit. They're just like, come on down. You draft at Texas.
When do you play?
Like once, twice a week at night before I go to bed.
I was about to say, what? When
Well, you
have
can
time?
and you can turn it on. Like if you play the whole game, probably takes 30 to 40 minutes, somewhere in there. But you can choose to play offense only. That's what I've been on a lot lately.
Offense only.
Yeah, you play offense only. You can choose the mode. You can play the whole game naturally, or you can play offense only. You can play defense only. You could even pick to play the key moments of the game if it's close and you need a drive one way or the other.
What has technology done to us? What?
Okay,
But hold on now, Ben. Hold on now.
You're just insinuating that I don't have time to play, which is accurate.
But still.
So to make, because I don't have time to play, I get on, I hurry up and I play my game so we can advance the week.
That's not how video games supposed to be. Not football games. Hey, whatever happened to the days when you gonna play this Tecmo Bowl, and you got 4 or 5 plays, and you gonna play the whole game. It ain't no saving it. You gonna play the whole game right then.
I was never on Tecmo Bowl.
And then
I
Sega
just
Genesis,
missed
you gonna play that whole game right now.
I just missed that era.
You gonna play offense and defense and special teams. You may not want to punt it ever. You can be 4 for 18. We never punt. You can go for it, but at least you got to play the down now. It's spoiled. You just playing offense only?
But I'm trying to get my game done, okay? I don't have time to play, so I stay up later than I need to, play my game real quick, play offense only, and get up out of the way. My first NCAA game was the 03 one that you were actually on, and I think Cedric Benson was on that game as well,
Texas.
and he was unstoppable at Texas, but the Tennessee backs. You, Meacham, Brett Smith was on there. Clausen was my quarterback. Those were the days. You
know what? I'm just gonna keep it going before you say something.
I know I mentioned Cedric Benson, I did that purposely. Cedric Houston was also unstoppable on that game as well.
C-Mac says, tell McKee to stop playing on freshmen.
Shut up, C-Mac. Mind your own business.
Shout out to C-Mac, man. Met C-Mac in Columbus a couple weeks ago when Tennessee played in the playoff game. So that's the first time I met C-Mac, man. Chopped it up, had a cool time. Tomorrow, Tennessee, hoops, Vanderbilt. Tennessee bounces back. We know baseball's winning today, right? So
They're winning today, tomorrow, Sunday. The question with baseball is, how does the weather impact the weekend? The weather does not look good Saturday or Sunday. There was talk yesterday.
I don't trust your predictions, because the last time Tennessee played inside Lindsey Nelson Stadium in front of thousands of fans against an inferior opponent, you just called a sweep like it was going to happen, and it didn't happen, Ben.
Yeah, and people were very upset with me for that, because me saying that determined that Evansville was going to win game 2.
That's what I thought.
But touche. I get it. Whatever. Just like everybody was mad at me for talking about Joe Lenardi, and then Tennessee goes out and doesn't play well, because I was talking about where Tennessee was projected in the bracket. That is why Tennessee lost. Man, Tennessee should hire me as GM if I had that much control and say. But we'll see what the weather does. There was some talk about a doubleheader yesterday, but they decided against that as of now. If anything, I think they'll move up first pitch today. But the weather today looks fine. I don't know why they would need to move up first pitch. I mean, it'd be cold later. That I guess would be the reason. But tomorrow's like 85% chance of rain. Sunday at 65%. So we'll see how much baseball Tennessee play this weekend. Basketball, it's a big one. What did you think about my comments yesterday? I felt bad because it wasn't a great answer, but like that's how I feel about Tennessee basketball. Josh asked me where I'm at with this Tennessee basketball team, and I said I don't know, because one minute you think that they're really starting to come into their own, and then the next second, the next game, they do what they did at Kentucky. And maybe Kentucky is just a really, really bad matchup. But what are your thoughts? Where are you at on this Tennessee basketball team as they're midway through February? I don't have a great read on them at the moment. Like, that's genuinely how I feel.
Well, Kentucky's been the only team that has been able to shoot the ball the way they shot the ball versus Tennessee. And every other team that they've played 25 games. All the other teams that they've played, 23 teams that they've played, haven't shot the ball like that versus Kentucky. So the chances are that you're not going to find anyone like Kentucky in the first or second round. Like, the chances point to that. So, like, I see, oh, man, this team might not make it out of the first weekend. They might not, but I highly doubt that they'll be bouncing in the first weekend. Like, even with a tough shooting performance, because on one hand, we are saying the SEC is the best league ever in the college basketball history, as one league being as dominant as the SEC, which Tennessee is playing in. So we're saying that on one hand, but on the other hand, saying, oh, well, I mean, this Tennessee team, they might get bounced in the first round or first weekend. Well, they're not going to play anybody that they consistently play day in, day out, game in, game out in this conference this year. So the likelihood you're not going to play anybody as good as Kentucky or anyone else that you play in this league. Like, you're not going to even play a team that's probably as good as South Carolina. And they're the worst team in the league, them and LSU.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, and I agree with you. But when projecting this team, we don't talk about them getting out of the first weekend. We talk about them getting out of the second weekend.
But people are making statements, I wouldn't be surprised if they get bounced in the first weekend. That's
because people are far too emotional and reactionary when it comes to Tennessee basketball, as we have had conversations about. I mean,
never said that?
The sky is falling
You never made that
every
statement?
time Tennessee basketball loses.
Have you made that statement?
What?
I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee gets bounced out of the first weekend.
I don't think I've made that statement out loud.
With this with this team. And it can happen. I'm just saying it can happen. But, like,
it could happen to anybody. Nobody saw
likelihood.
Auburn losing to BYU or Yale, whoever it was last year.
Yeah, for sure. And, we've seen Kentucky take their fair share of L's in the first weekend. So, like, it could happen. But, like, my takeaway from any of the 5 losses wasn't, man, this team may not make it out the first weekend. My takeaway was, this team ain't making it to the Final Four, or this team ain't making it to Elite 8 after those 5 losses.
Yes, totally agree. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
They don't, and my takeaway continues to be in these losses, they don't have enough shooters. They don't have shooters. That's the difference between Tennessee and Kentucky. Kentucky has shooters. Its roster has guys who shoot the basketball well. And I realize the Kentucky comparison may not be great because, boy, are they sacrificing a lot of defense, although that has not showed up in the Tennessee matchups. But, like, you look at Auburn, you look at Alabama, you look at Kentucky, like, those rosters are full of shooters. And that's not Tennessee's roster construction. And I think that on top of what you're saying about my takeaway in these losses, are that they're not going to make the Final Four, probably won't make it to the Elite 8, is that because they don't have enough offense to get them to that point in the tournament.
Yeah. So the game I was watching yesterday, boys game, was Memphis and South Florida. And Memphis is the best three-point shooting team in the country. At like 40%. And Memphis, I think they've lost like 2 games, 1 game in the conference. They're 14th in the country. Memphis can fill it up. and we're talking about shooting, because you don't have a team of shooters, it puts a lot of pressure on Jordan Gainey and Chaz Lanier to make shots. And when those two dudes are going 1 for 12 combined, or 2 for 17 combined, or 0 for 12 combined, it really hurts Tennessee, because you look at two players who are essentially the same, but they're just different ages and different experience and maturity level. Bishop Oswell and Jamal Meshack, they're the same player, essentially, for you. No one's afraid of them offensively. They're not taking shots, making shots, being aggressive offensively. But defensively, they're tough. They're good. But when you only have 9 dudes in a rotation, you can't go deep down the bench like Kentucky did on Tuesday and go, hey, freshman. Hey, freshman from Kentucky. We got 2 dudes who are out right now. Jackson Robinson, and then you had Lamont Butler that went out. Hey, Trent Noah, go get us 11 points. Hey, Travis Perry, go get us 8. And those 2 dudes combined going 5 for 7 from 3. Because all they did was just shoot it. That's all they were asked to do, is shoot open shots. And they came in and got you 19 points. Like, we don't have that on our bench. We don't have a guy that doesn't play a lot, but when he comes in, he makes shot. There were times when Darlington Dubar did that, but he ain't doing that now. And when he did it, he only made like 1 or 2.
Yeah, the Texas game.
He ain't making 3.
No, the roster is limited in terms of making it to the Final Four, Elite Eight. This is a second weekend team, but I think a lot of us would be surprised if they made it past the second weekend and to the Final Four, because we talk what we do about Gainey and Lanier needing to make shots. That's on top of you have 7 players that you can count on. You can't count on Darlington Dubar right now. You can't count on Bishop Boswell right now. You have 7 guys. And when those 7 aren't playing well, that's that. Yeah. And part of that is you also don't have a post presence, like in terms of offense that you can consistently rely on, that you can give them the ball and get you a bucket. He's sitting on the bench recovering from foot surgery that ended his season. That's tough luck. That's contributed to the numbers. That's also contributed to some of the offensive woes as well. So I'm with you. Like when I sit there and I watch Kentucky beat up on Tennessee, that's my thought, is like, of course this is a really good basketball team, one of the better teams in the country. I'd say they're a top 10 team in the country, which is awesome. But we talk like what we were talking about with Tennessee baseball earlier. Like we just, expectations are different. Tennessee basketball is different in February of 2025 than it was in February of 2018, 2019. It's no longer about getting to the Sweet 16. It's about trying to get to the Final Four, continue to get to the Elite Eight. And when I watch them lose, I'm with you. I just don't know that they have enough offensive firepower for a couple of different reasons to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna come down to this team understanding, and I'm sure they do. I'm sure they were told. Gainey and Chaz, they can't afford to both have bad games. So the first loss of the season, this will be the last point before we wrap everything up. But the first loss of the season, Chaz Lanier went 3 for 16, 1 for 9 for 3. Jordan Gainey went 1 out of 11 from the field, and then 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. Okay, that was the first L. All right, the second L was against Vanderbilt, and Chaz Lanier had 17 points in that game. Chaz Lanier went 5 from 11 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3. But Jordan Gainey was 1 for 6 from the field and 1 for 3 from 3, and only scored you 5 points in that game. like that, like those two dudes together, I think have to be good. How about Tennessee's third loss? This was to Auburn. We lost by 2. Had every chance to win the basketball game. Chazanier, 4 for 11 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, 10 points. Jordan Gainey, 8 points, 3 for 10, 2 for 5 from 3. So not good enough. Not good enough. And you had a chance to win late. And then the first loss to Kentucky, here's what the two guys did in that one. Chazanier was 5 for 14, 3 for 10 from 3. Jordan Gainey, 2 for 9 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, only 6 points. So, like, when Tennessee doesn't get that production from Gainey,
and it's not just Gainey. I know you're not trying to say that.
But it's those two guys' ability to make open shots because those are the guys that we count on to make shots.
Those are your shooters that I was referencing earlier that other teams have a plethora of.
Correct. So it just puts more pressure on those guys to shoot because Jemai ain't shooting it with confidence and making it.
He's not shooting it at all.
Shooting it with confidence and making it. That's why Igor is out there, as Rick Barnes said in his presser, kind of playing outside the offense, doing his own thing, and he not knowing what he was doing. Well, that's because Igor looking around going,
nobody else doing anything.
Shots, ain't nobody doing nothing. I need to go do it.
I know it's easy for me to say because I'm not the coach, but I was all for it in the second half. You go, Igor.
Go, Igor.
You go,
Igor. That's what I was saying too. Go do your thing, man.
And they need to start focusing. Rick's offense doesn't generate
around one player
when you don't have Dalton Connect and you give him the ball and tell everybody to get out of the way and ISO him. It generates open shots for everybody. And you hope that the guys knock down the open shots. With that being said, I'd like to see Igor featured more. He needs to be featured the most out of anybody on this roster offensively. In at minimum 1A, 1B with Chaz. And I know you're making your point about Gainey. I completely agree, but I would take it a step further. And it's time for Chaz Lanier to step up in the big games. And I don't appreciate him making me look silly earlier this week when I was talking about how it looked like he was starting to figure this thing out on Saturday at Oklahoma. Now, I do still think that if you were truly watching him, I think he was still doing those things that I liked what I saw from him at Oklahoma in terms of how he was moving without the basketball and he was shooting without hesitation. He was doing that against Kentucky, but the shots just weren't falling. Maybe it was truly just an off shooting night for him more than him necessarily playing poorly. But whether shots just aren't falling or not, like in these big games, if Tennessee is going to get as far as they want to get, he's got to make shots in the big games. It can't be, okay, he's doing everything well enough to set himself up for the shot, but the shot's got to go in at some point. I mean, it's just that simple, and there's too much of a trend now in the bigger games for Tennessee and SEC play of his shots not going in, and that's got to change. Tennessee invested in you the way that they did for a reason, because you had to be a key piece to their offense this season, and in the big games so far, he's not shown up enough. And I love Chaz. I love him the person. I love him the player, but he's got to get going more in these big games.
And what's crazy is, Ben, this constructive criticism would be the same, if not worse, if he would have picked Kentucky or BYU because they offered him more money than what Tennessee is paying him. So,
yes, but let me ask you this. Would Chaz be going through the shooting slumps if he was at Kentucky or BYU where he was not being asked to do the same things defensively and where he could just go stand in the corner with all the rest of the shooters and just shoot the basketball?
Yeah,
I feel like that's a fair question to ask as well.
That is a fair question. But you came here to be a complete ball player. Same reason why Don Connect.
So that's not a – yeah. So don't use what I just said. Mm-hmm. My point was I think it would actually be easier for him to play at Kentucky or BYU. But that is not the route that he wanted to go. Yeah. He chose what you just said, to go somewhere where he felt like he would be developed into more of an all-around player. So you need to answer that bell.
Yeah.
But I do think in a weird way, like if he had gone to BYU or Kentucky, there'd be less pressure on him, despite what they would have invested into him because of what they would have asked him to do offensively and not expected as much from him defensively.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that one for sure. I do. 865-255-03. AlphaWildlife.com. Squirrel and skunk removal. They got you taken care of. They're your Knoxville wildlife removal experts for your nuisance animal needs, and not just Knoxville. So they have locations in Knoxville, like I mentioned, but Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, Charleston, South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. Squirrels in the attic, possums somewhere, raccoons making the mess, bats, whatever it could be, snakes. Call Alpha Wildlife, the veteran-owned, volunteer fans over there at Alpha Wildlife. That is alphawildlife.com for more information. 865-255-03. Big thanks to everyone on the Betty Chevrolet text box. Brian Hunsucker, these kids' attention spans are so bad that they only play key moments on video games. That's what I'm saying.
Y'all are lame. Y'all sound like these old folks who blame us young folks.
What are you talking about?
We don't want to work hard. We want participation
He said
trophies.
Attention span. That's
No,
true.
it's not about the attention span. It's about being efficient with my time. I don't have time to play video games like I used to. So if I have to get my game completed so I'm not holding everybody else up when I don't have time to play, I've got to do it the quickest way possible. So I play offense only to get the game done and out of the way and stop holding people up. That's not my attention span.
Your reason is understandable.
But you were making fun of my reason earlier, and that's why Hunt.
No, I'm making fun of the option, like the fact that there's an option available.
As long as you're not talking about me,
it's silly.
I know where you live.
You play
as
video
long as
games.
you're not talking
You
about
play
me.
video games. But Hunsucker is right, man. Just want to play offense. No, man, play both. Play both. That's what football is intended to be.
I play both when I'm not in a rush.
All right. Tuesday, 8 a.m. Same time, same place. We will have an adjustment with the show on the back half of the week, but it depends on the weather. Supposed to be some ugly stuff coming to the south as far as a winter storm. So just be on the lookout. Swain Event on Twitter is where I throw the updates. But Tuesday we are good to go, 8 a.m. Big thanks to Ben McKee. Big thanks to the phone calls and the messages on the text box, the Betty Chevrolet text box. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day today and a great weekend. Tuesday, 8 a.m. Be there. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. Peace and much love. We are out.